In these videos, we're going to go ahead and tackle notes a little bit differently. We're going to summarize in more of a graphic organizer the process for each of these schema or data checks, and then we're also going to have examples on the other side. So all of these documents are available to you in Canvas. If you are not able to access them, I'll go ahead and put them in the comments below on each of the videos. Okay, so here the first ones that we're going to talk about are called the 9 and 7 schema. And so we're going to discuss what money orders, how those behave, and how those digits are checked so that we know that a mistake hasn't been made when it's input. Then we're going to talk about banknotes and traveler's checks. And then we're going to look at airline and rental cars, which is our division by 7 schema. All right, so those are going to be the first ones that we tackle in this video. In the next video, we'll tackle UPC and EAN numbers. And then we will tackle bank ID numbers, Lund algorithm, International Standard Book numbers or ISBN numbers, and then just a nod to multiplication by 13. All right, let's go ahead and get started with 9 and 7 schema. This, obviously, there's a division by 9 in there somewhere. So we got to have the rules that we're going to use in order to get this done. So step 1 is that we're going to add up the first 10 digits. Okay, that's our first step. If you happen to have a number that is a check, it's called a check digit at the very, very end, you want to make sure you add up everything, not including the check digit. So I'm just going to put a little note here, not including the check digit. Okay, and that check digit is just to see, is this a valid number or not? Once you add up all of those, what you want to do is divide by 9. And you're going to have to go old school on that because we need to know what our remainder is. And then the third one is that our remainder is the check digit. Okay, the remainder is the check digit. All right, so we're going to do a couple examples, and I'm going to go ahead and divide this square into 2. And if you need to get these notes, go ahead and just pause and go back to it. So let me separate this down the center here. And I'm going to do our first example. In our first example, we want to first determine the check digit. Okay, we want to determine the check digit. So let's look at a number. So I've got 7003 463 779. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then I have this mystery check digit, and I don't know what it is. So my job is to actually find it. Excuse me. So I'm going to go ahead and add things up. So 7 plus 0 plus 0 plus 3 plus 4 plus 6 plus 3 plus 7 plus 7 plus 9. So obviously you don't have to write all of this out, right? And you don't need to include the zeros when you do your calculations. So when I add all of this up together, I get the number 46. And so what I'll do is I'll go ahead and take that 46 and I'll figure out how many times does 9 go into it. So 9 goes into 46, 5 times 9 is 45, subtract 45 from 46, and I have a remainder 1. So that is going to be my check digit. So my remainder is equal to the check digit. So I'm going to go ahead and erase this here because now I know that it should be the number 1. All right, so that's one example. Let's take another look at a different example. Actually, let's go ahead and write about the check digit. Check digit is equal to 1. Okay, so let's look at example 2. So on this one, we want to see, is the check digit correct? Is that check digit correct? So let's look at my number. So this number is going to include my check digit. So I have to be careful not to add that last number. So I have 70193348993. This last number is my check digit, and I'm not going to include that in my sum field. All right, so let's go ahead and start adding them together. Again, you just put it into your calculator. I'm going to go ahead and write this down. 7 plus 0 plus 1 plus 9 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4 plus 8 plus 9 plus, oops, messing up here, plus 9 is going to give us a grand total of 53. So I'm going to go ahead and take that 53 and see how many times 9 goes into it. I know that 9 goes into it 5 times. 5 times 9 gives me 45. I make that a 13, change that to 4. 13 minus 5 gives me 8. So my remainder equals 8. So the question is, does my remainder and my check digit here, do they match? And clearly they do not. So what we have is the check digit is incorrect. It should be 8. All right, so that's a way to check our data. All right, so now we're going to set aside that 9 scheme. And this one, by the way, just make sure that you are very aware of the application. This is for money orders that we're talking about. Okay, let's do another division by 9 scheme, but this is a little bit different. We're talking banknotes and traveler's checks. In fact, I'm going to put this in a different color. So banknotes and travel checks is what we're talking about here. And we're looking at all are divisible evenly by 9. So what does that mean as far as steps are concerned? All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is tell you exactly what the definition is. So the number and the check digit must be evenly divided by 9. Okay, so we're going to add up the whole thing. Okay. So the way to check, right, is we're going to add up the number without the check digit. The check digit is going to be your last digit. So we're going to add it up without the check digit. The second thing we're going to do is check and see, is it divisible by 9? Okay. If it is, my check digit would be 0 because I don't need to add anything else to it. If it's not, so if not, how much needs to be added to get it divisible evenly by 9? And that number that you got is your check digit. Okay. The alternative is if they give you the whole entire number and they want to verify if your check digit is correct, you can add up all of them. And if it's not divisible by 9, then your check digit is wrong. All right. So we're going to do 2 where you're going to have to determine the check digit, and then another one where you're going to have to see if it's correct. So I'm going to go ahead and divide this into 3. Now I am writing fairly small. I have the ability to zoom in on this, and you don't have that ability. So if you need to, go ahead and write on the back of your paper as well. So example 1 here, the sum of my digits, okay, not including my check digit, is equal to 67. And my question is, what is the check digit? What is the check digit? All right, so I am going to write down that 67. My check digit is what I have to add to get to my next number that's divisible by 9. So what I do is I look at, okay, what number below this is divisible by 9? And that would be 63. Right? I know that 63 is divisible by 9. So when I multiply 7 by 9, that's what I get. So I'm going to try 8 times 9, and 8 times 9 is 72. So I know that this is a number that's divisible by 9. So I have to come up with a number that actually will add to give me 72. So all I do is 72 minus 67, right? And that will give me the number 5. So what's the check digit? It's number 5. All right, let's go ahead and do another one now that you've seen an example. And I want to encourage you to go ahead and pause the video and see if you can work on this yourself, and then come back and check your answer. Let me get the question written down first. So the sum of your digits is going to equal 32. And the question is, what is the check digit? Okay, so go ahead and pause the video, see if you can go ahead and figure this out. All right, so I take a look at the sum, which is 32, and I know that the one below that that's divisible by 9 is 27. So then I look to see what's up above it, and that's going to be 36. Okay, so I need to get it to 36. If I subtract 32 from 36, I get the answer of 4. So the check digit is going to be the number 4. Hopefully you did well on that one. All right, here's another one that's a little bit different. We're going to go ahead and see if our check digit is correct. So example 3, we have a traveler's check. Okay, we have a traveler's check, and the number on that traveler's check is 637-74158. So that is my check digit. All right. So I need to see, is this correct? And usually when we ask that question, is the check digit correct? And then usually if not, what is the correct one? Okay, so we're going to do this a little bit differently. If I was just saying yes or no as to whether or not it's the correct check digit, I would just add all these up and divide by 9 and call it a day. If it's a whole number, then it's correct. If I get a decimal when I divide by 9, then it is not correct. Okay, So let's take a look at these first few. I'm going to ignore this 8 for right now, and this is how I would solve it to determine what the check digit is. So 6 plus 3 plus 7 plus 7 plus 4 plus 1 plus 5. And when I add those all up, I get 33. Well, that 33, I have to add something to it in order to get the number 36. And remember, it's just a single digit. So it's not like I'm going to be adding 18 or 27 or something like that, right? So what do I need to add to 33 in order to get 36? Well, that number is 3. Then I have to check, is this check digit equal to this one? Nope, it is not. So we have an incorrect check digit. Okay, we have an incorrect check digit. So both of these, again, one is looking at the remainder being your check digit. The other one is what you need to get it up to the next evenly divisible by 9. So both of them involve division by 9, but in different ways. One of the difficult things about these is that it will not take care of anything that's been transposed. So for example, and I'm going to erase this when I'm done. If I have, 04572, but then I have 05427, those would show up in this check as the same result. So if I messed up on my data entry, it's not necessarily going to be caught by both of these methods. So you got to be careful with those. All right, our last one that we're going to cover on this video is going to be division by 7 schema. So my division by 7 schema, that's going to be my airlines and my rental cars. And here's how we do it. It's going to sound really, really bad, but it's not bad at all. All right, my check digit has a formula. That formula is called R. And R is equal to A minus B times Q. So what are all these pieces? A is equal to the number without the check digit. Okay? A is the number without the check digit. So we're not adding it, we're just using the actual number as it is. Now B, in this case, because it's division by 7 schema, is going to be the number 7. And then Q is an interesting thing. We're going to take A and divide it by B. And then once we do that, we're going to drop any decimals. When we drop the decimals, it's the same thing as using only the integer. Okay, so integers are whole numbers. So I'm going to use a whole number. Now remember, when you do this, you're going to essentially put parentheses around that B times Q so that your order of operations works for you. All right, let's put in an example because this seems kind of weird as far as what we're doing. I'm going to divide this into 2 sections. I apologize, my voice is starting to go here. So we have example 1. In example 1, what is the check digit for an Avis rental car agreement? So the number that I have so far is 531023. So this is my rental car agreement. Well, I know that A is going to be equal to 531023, just as a regular number. B is going to equal 7. Now remember, in my formula, I've got to take A and divide it by B. So 531023, divided by 7 is going to give me the number 75860.43. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to ignore all of this. I don't need that information because my Q is this aspect right here. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and stick it into my formula. So R is equal to 531023, right? That's my A, minus parentheses 7 times 75860. Okay. So once I do that, I actually get a value of 3. So my check digit is 3. Okay. All right, let's take a look at one last example. So example 2, I'm going to ask, is my check digit correct? All right, so I have a national rental. Okay, now the first one asked me what is the check digit? I didn't have one listed there, right? So technically that check digit would go here as a 3. Well, on this one, I'm asking you if the check digit is correct. So I'm giving you the number 9831726, and this last one is my check digit. So then A is going to equal 983172. B is equal to 7. Divide that, and I get 1404.53.14. And again, I don't need these decimals because that right here is my Q value. So R is equal to A minus B times Q. So R is equal to 983172 minus 7 times 140453. And so that check digit should be the number 1. So is my check digit correct? Nope. It is incorrect. Okay, so now that we've been through this, what I want you to do is go back into your notes that you have, and I want you to do monitoring progress number 1. So monitoring progress number 1, and you're going to do numbers 1 through 5. Pay special attention as to whether it's a money order, a banknote or traveler's check, or an airline or rental car, because that's going to tell you which schema that you're going to use in order to solve. Okay, once you're done with that, then you can go on to practice 8.1, and you can complete numbers 1 through 5 on that one as well.